Britt and Satonya raised three beautiful kids. Their middle child left home for his freshman college year. Weeks later, he was dead. This is Healthy You, and I'm your host, Sharon Stevens. In a minute, Satonya will tell us what happened. Nicholas Jabari Booker, or Nick as he was called, had just graduated from John Burroughs. Weeks after arriving at Fordham University, he was dead from cardiac arrest. His mother, Satonya, is here with us to tell us what happened and why. Satonya, welcome to Healthy You.
Thank you,
We
Sharon.
appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about what happened right after graduation.
Oh, well, we were so excited for Nicholas. First of all, when we visited Fordham, he didn't need to go anywhere else. He got to New York and said, "This is where I want to be." We stopped all the tours, and so we were thrilled for him. Although, as a mother and knowing the issues he had with allergies and asthma, I was very afraid for him, but he had promised to do the things that he needed to do to look after himself and everything. So we were excited, and he'd been doing well. And so he got there, and before that we went on a family vacation, our first full family vacation after having a huge family get together. And my husband and him traveled. They drove all of his stuff across the country to get there. And I flew because I was not going to do that. And we decorated his room, met his roommates, and everything was fine.
You mentioned, just let me interrupt you for a second, you mentioned that he did have some pre-existing conditions.
Yes.
And did that require something special in terms of the school itself, or was this just maintenance by him?
Oh, gosh. Fordham was wonderful. He was born with 27 food allergies and severe asthma. In fact, he was very sick as a child, but he really maintained everything. He played football and track and basketball, all of those in high school, and he really took care of himself, but he always had asthma and food allergies. He had a strict diet, and Fordham was really good. They had everything separated, everything marked. He had specific places that he could go, and everything was identified. So he was really, really, we were really comfortable with him being there. It was, we really researched, and he researched that, and so he knew that he would be safe.
Okay.
And so we fully expected him to have a long and happy life, and it just didn't turn out that way. But so he went there, and they even paired him with another young man who had similar food allergies. So he didn't have to have cross-contamination even within the room.
And they could look out for each other.
Yeah. It was supposed to be really perfect. And
what happened?
he had this cohort of friends who got together on a regular basis and studied together, and they decided to take a break before examinations, and they went to play basketball together at the gym on campus. And after one of the games where they were talking trash, him, the biggest one, he walked away. They thought he was going to the bathroom, and they were even like talking or whatever. And they said, "Hey Nick, where are you going?" And he just kind of put up a finger, and they thought, he was just going to the bathroom or whatever. And he walked out to the, I guess the registration, like where you walk out to notify people you're coming in or whatever. And he held his chest like he couldn't breathe. He didn't say a word, and he collapsed right there. And he never woke up. There were two med students who were there, and they performed CPR on him immediately until the paramedics came. They arrived within 15 minutes. They performed all the life-saving measures for an hour to keep him before they got his heart started again. And every time they took him off, he would crash, and his brain was just deprived of oxygen, so it didn't work.
I'm so sorry.
So, yep.
When were you all notified, you and your husband?
The dean and head of school called us, kept calling us, and I was playing volleyball, and my husband was with his brother, and none of us could get contacted, so they called the Clayton police. We lived in Clayton at the time. And so when my daughter and I arrived home from volleyball, the Clayton police were at our door, and they asked me if I knew if I was the parent of Nicholas Booker. And I'm like, he's fine. He did nothing. And I thought that they were saying he did something. I said, he's not here. He's in New York. Everything's fine. And they asked me where my husband was, and asked me if I could call him home, and they wouldn't tell me anything until he got home. They sat us down and told us that Florida Med called them and said that he told us what happened, and we should get on the plane right away. That he had been, at that time, they didn't tell us that he was not going to survive. But once
So
we
you're
got to the
thinking he's
hospital,
still alive, but in very
critical
condition.
So once we got to the hospital, we went at 3 a.m. that morning. Well, that's when we went to the airport. The plane left at like 4:30 in the morning or something. And once we got there, we talked to the doctors and everything, and they showed us everything that they'd done, and they proceeded to perform all these tests to test brain activity and everything. And Nicholas was an organ donor, and we decided that it was better to take him off of life support because there was no brain activity, and it was better. They were able to use his organs and tissue and everything, and he was able to help 36 people with all of his different organs and everything, and tissues and all of that. So,
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
so we've heard from people who received several of his organs and tissues. So,
Does that? I mean, obviously, nothing could, help you feel any better. But do you get some solace from the fact that people who have benefited from the donation of his organs, does that give you some solace?
it does, definitely. We have even heard from people who became organ donors because of us telling about his story. So that definitely helps too, especially in the Black community. We tend to be less willing to do that, and so that he's always been the kind of person who is a leader And the fact that he continues to do that, even in his death, really makes
still
us
giving.
proud.
He was
He's
still
still giving.
giving.
And we're still continuing to do that, even with Forest Park. They're naming the basketball courts after him that are opening up
Oh my goodness, when is
This-
that going to be?
this summer.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we're trying to honor his legacy in that way.
What did the officials in New York say was the official cause of death?
Well, officially a heart attack, but it was caused because of his asthma. His lungs were not feeding his body, and so he officially died because of a heart attack. But they were able to use his heart as for a donor, so that worked out. But yeah, his lungs were not in good shape. He had RSV and pneumonia and severe asthma as a child, and so his lungs were just not in good shape. But one thing he could have, there were treatments that he could have done that could have helped to make it better. There were treatments that just weren't for children yet. There are medications that are available now, but they weren't available when he was a child. So,
And how old was he?
oh, he was 18 when he passed away. But yeah,
Okay. So no evidence of foul play or anything. You know, it was just
no.
something you couldn't help. How do you, in addition to the basketball courts that are going to be named in his honor, how else do you honor him?
Well, at all of our family get-togethers, we always speak of him and toast in his honor and those sorts of things. He was born on December 31st. So, yes, so we always celebrate his birthday, as does the world.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that we do.
You know, it's kind of interesting that you said when you got home, the police were there and your first thought was, my boy didn't do anything. Why would you say that?
He's a black boy. And that's the first thing you think when you're black and you have a black son and you live in Clayton, you live in St. Louis, and yeah, I was around when Mike Brown and that sort of thing, participated in all of that. So it's your biggest fear when you have sons who are,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. What would you say to people, to parents, relatives, friends who today may have someone in their lives who has the illness that Nick had? What would you say to them to take precautions?
Oh, well, one of the things we always stress to Nick is to, from the very beginning, we were not helicopter parents. We always stressed to him to make sure that he was responsible himself for his health. He talked to, when you have food allergies, you're checking labels yourself. Even before he was able to read, he would ask people, what is in that food? What is, so even if you are someone who isn't worried about food allergies, but you're worried about other things like cholesterol and those sorts of things, talking to people about what are the things that will keep you safe, and making sure that you're going to the doctor, you're being, he always was active, and
And that was always okay for him to be active.
oh yes, his doctors always stressed that that would keep him healthy. Making sure that his lungs were, open and being at full capacity. I know a lot of people, when you have asthma, they think that you should be less active, but no, you should be as active as you can be, and at least that's how his doctors treated it. Keeping your appointments and that sort of thing. One of the things when as he got older and less under our care, he wanted to go to the doctors less, and so that was a struggle for us. And one of the things that both his father and I kind of are sad about, that we didn't push him to go to the doctors as often as we did when he didn't have a driver's license. And we'd say, you need to keep your appointments. So he didn't go as regularly as he should. And so I would definitely, like, if you're a parent, and that is a regret that I have, that I didn't make him go as often as we did when we were in charge of him. But if you, I think doing that would definitely help.
Yeah. Was there any evidence at all that he'd eaten something that day that maybe he shouldn't have?
No. We talked to his roommate, and they'd gone to the cafeteria, and so they hadn't eaten any from any other place. And so we felt confident that he was only eating food that was not contaminated or what have you. In fact, one of the things that I kept turning over in my mind is that maybe he was getting contaminated food, but I think that his health was just getting progressively worse. I don't want to get into real. I do wonder though if the doctors did tell us that there was another young man who was there at the time. He died in 2018, September 2018. There was another young man who was his same age, who had the same problem with his lungs. They were just full of, basically, as the nurse said, trashed. And they weren't sure what was going on, and we don't know if that was when things were going on with either COVID or before people knew about it. I don't want to get into conspiracy theories or whatever, but maybe it was that, or maybe it was just the different environment of New York or whatever. The doctor said that they were starting to see lots of young people come in with lung conditions that they didn't understand at the time.
More of them
than they knew. But I also know that is the beginning of them starting to see people with who are doing the vaping and all of that too. So,
but you don't again think that there was something nefarious going on here? No. How's your family holding up?
It's rough. It's rough. It's supposed to be a very happy time, and it's not. The holidays are rough for us, but we're working through it.
Good. Well, thank you so much for sharing what is obviously an extremely painful story. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And I just want to say that Nick's death will forever leave a void in the Booker family, but we hope that this tragic story will save a life This has been Healthy You. I'm your host, Sharon Stevens. Thanks for watching.